Welcome back. Former President Trump expected to meet with Senate Republicans while in D.C. Thursday for a business roundtable. He's expected to address his plans for the summer and discuss ideas for a strategic 2025 GOP governing agenda. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso provided the invite, and he joins me right now. He is the Senate Republican Conference chairman and is running for Senate GOP whip. Senator, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Maria.
I want to hear more about this meeting with President Trump. Can you tell us what you're expecting to come out of this governing agenda?
Well, when President Trump is reelected, and I believe he will be, we need to be ready. Ready to secure the border, ready to deal with high prices, ready to unleash American energy. People are tired of living in this world of Democrat-caused high prices, Democrat-caused open border. We need to get the country back on track. We're going to visit with President Trump about making sure that he gets elected and that the Republicans in the Senate are in the majority to help him accomplish the agenda.
Well, look, you know that at this point, the Democrats will stoop at nothing to stop Donald Trump from returning to the White House. You just said you believe he will get elected. So the conviction, the attacks on Trump and all of Trump's officials, you don't think it's having any effect?
Well, realistically, the American people are thinking about what's going on in their lives. And the number one and number two issue that are affecting people all across the country are the open borders, because right now every state has become a border state with the crime and the drugs and all of the implications of that. And in every state, people are suffering under these incredibly high prices. Joe Biden and the Democrats, he is the president and they are the party of high prices and open borders, and people are furious. Last night I had a telephone town hall meeting in Wyoming. Thousands of people on, furious about both of those things. I was all around the state of Wyoming last weekend, meeting with coal miners, meeting with ranchers, the people that keep the lights on, the people that keep food on the table, furious with what has happened under this administration. It is time for a change. The American people want that, and that's what we're going to be visiting with President Trump about on Thursday.
Well, you're right, but I got to tell you, viewers are also upset with you and your colleagues that you have been unable to secure the border. Why not?
Because we have a lawless president. Well, there is no new law that passed from the time that President Trump left office till the time that Joe Biden came in, except Joe Biden came out with 94 executive orders. This is a cumulative problem. 10 million illegal immigrants in here. Tried to impeach, the House did impeach the Secretary of Homeland Security for absolutely abusing the laws of this nation, and the Democrats blocked it. They will do, with the power they have as the majority in the Senate and in the White House with Joe Biden, do everything they can to keep this basically flood of illegal immigrants, this invasion of illegal immigrants coming into the country. The American people see it. They're disgusted with it. Their lives are being impacted. The drugs are killing people, children in our communities. This has to stop. And the only place it can stop is at the ballot box. No law being passed in Congress is going to make Joe Biden or the Democrats change their bad behavior.
Yeah, you're right. People are truly disgusted. I want to get your take on this, though. A number of top Senate Republicans reportedly signaling support for term limits for their next leader. Whoever that leader is who will take over for Mitch McConnell when he steps down as minority leader in November. Senator, will you support term limits?
Well, as chairman of the conference, I'll be overseeing the discussion on that, and I expect that we're going to have a full discussion of that. This wouldn't occur until in November, after the election of the president, after to find out if we're in the majority or not. And I'm running for the whip position, to be the number two, to be part of the team, to help President Trump get his agenda across the line. Judges confirmed, his cabinet in place. But I expect there's going to be a full discussion about that. The Democrats don't have term limits. We have to decide if we want to do that for our leader. We do have them for other levels of leadership and for committee chairmanship, and that's 6 years.
Well, why don't the Democrats have term limits? Why shouldn't everybody have term limits?
They make their own rules. I'm not going to tell them how to run their own caucus. I am going to tell them that they're doing it wrong in terms of what we're dealing with a country with high inflation as a result of their spending, the high prices as a result of what the Democrats have done. in terms of regulations which have been punishing all across the country, killing American energy production. All of those things have made it worse for our country, and we need to make it better. And the way we can do that is win elections in November.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a moment. I want to ask you about this memo that we're talking about this morning. But real quick, who do you want to see in the Mitch McConnell seat?
Well, there are three people running. I work closely with all three of them, and as the whip, I'm going to work with whoever wins that election.
All right. Fox Business has obtained a White House memo claiming that MAGAnomics would spark inflation, Senator. Okay? It reads this: as top economists warned that MAGAnomics would mean an inflation spiral or an inflation bomb, the Washington Post exposes that congressional Republicans are plotting even more deficit-busting tax giveaways to major corporations on top of extending the Trump tax scam for rich special interests. Obviously, the White House senior deputy press secretary is saying all of this. A new AP Norc Center poll finds just 30% of U.S. adults say that they approve of how Biden has handled student loan forgiveness, something he frequently touts on the campaign trail. 40% of adults disapprove, Senator. So it's not just all of the, excessive spending leading to sky-high inflation. It's also something he thinks is one of his best policies, and that's forgiving student loan debt. People are not approving.
No, people don't approve of this president on so many levels, and they view President Trump as much more able to deal with the problems affecting them directly. So I've seen this memo. What the White House doesn't point out is they've said if in his second Biden term, it would be the highest tax raises in the history of the country. They want to get rid of all of the tax cuts in the Jobs Act that we brought into place as Republicans that gave us the best economy in my lifetime. They're talking about a $3 trillion tax increase if the Democrats and Joe Biden win this election. That's why this election is so critical. The American people see the Democrats here trying to throw a Hail Mary pass, not to actually solve the problems that they caused, but help them to win the election. That's what this is about.
We're a couple of weeks.
Go ahead.
Yep. Please continue, sir. Sorry.
Just say that the cumulative inflation, and numbers are going to be out again tomorrow. You started the show talking about that. People are paying 20% more right now than they were when Joe Biden came in office. People can't afford that. It's $1,000 or more. They can't each month just to stay where they were when Biden came in office. People can't afford that. So instead, they're cutting back. There was a story yesterday, I think on your show, that talked about fast foods. We used to think of fast foods as something, grab and eat and go. People now view that as a luxury because they just can't afford the things they've done in the past under Joe Biden's high prices, and this inflation is just cutting into everyone's paycheck and into their lives.
Well, they're trying to blame President Trump. You saw the report. They're talking about MAGAnomics causing inflation. So what is the plan? Should Trump return to the White House to rein in inflation?
Well, certainly you need to unleash American energy. You need to cut these punishing government regulations, which add to the cost of just about everything. Those are the things that President Trump did before, as well as continue the Trump tax cuts that worked so well, that helped people all across the country. That's what I heard about with the coal miners and our ranchers in Wyoming this past weekend. They want that to continue. They're not looking at the kind of tax increases as anything welcoming if Joe Biden is reelected president.
Yeah. And you think Biden will be the nominee? I mean, all these stories about raising the idea that the Democrats want him out. They want a different candidate. The Journal the other day writing behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping. Another opinion from the Journal by Ken Kachigan. Who's next in line after President Kamala Harris? Your thoughts, Senator?
Well, I think you started the show this morning about one of the groups saying, look, the Democrats know they need to replace Joe Biden, but with who? And Kamala Harris doesn't do any better in the polls. Look, we need to get Donald Trump reelected to be put him in the White House, President of the United States. We know Joe Biden isn't up to the job today, let alone 4 years from now. It is time for a change, and there's no Democrat who's going to be better than Donald Trump in terms of my thoughts, in terms of what's better for the country to get us back on track.
Senator, we'll be watching your work, certainly that meeting that you're planning on the governing agenda. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Senator John Barrasso is in D.C. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back.